What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 7 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Hellbeard Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, we have begun the war against the Slaaneshi, and Skulltaker has redeclared war upon us. As we continue casting down and binding the demonic, we have allied with Cathay. Lustria does make for strange bedfellows after all, and hopefully we can keep on friendly terms with them and get access to all their lovely units, especially all the gunpowder stuff that would fit so nicely in with ours. We are also, because, you know, several wars is not enough, are about to attack the Awakened, as we will inevitably have to be in conflict with them anyway, partly because our orderly allies will not like them, and partly because well, like I've said before, Chaos and Undead are anathema, and they won't work together. So, in that light, let's see what we've got. I guess we can start off by declaring war on these guys then. Oh, wait. There was something I wanted to do, but damn me if I remember what it was. Oh, I guess technically we will want to move these guys. Is there anything here that's important? I feel like I would have declared war last time if... Well, I guess we could have just run out of time. Oh, I know what we should do. This army is here and will probably immediately attack Shalanmapek, which... I mean, we could build the Fane Guardhouse and then rush it. Funnily enough, we could also build the prototype Mega Mortar. We could afford it. But rushing it will cost a lot of labor, though with the war declarations, we are about to get a lot of labor. There's certainly something to be said about it. Let us get a needful defender here. That's going to be you. Yeah, if only all these guys were considered. And then I guess we build the prototype Mega Mortar. It'll help in the conquest of these territories, if nothing else. Although, funnily enough, it will not help... Well, a Shalodal will most likely fall, but that's pretty much inescapable. I really just wonder where the enemy army is. You know what? Let's hold off on the Mega Mortar for a minute. I want to see about this. Also, I do believe we do now have the ability to get the Blazing Beards of Bajarak, meaning we can get rid of a laborer and replace with the Blazing Beards, and then we can ask Itza to join the war against the Awakened. Like so. They'll still probably never like us, so they'll be wiped out, but, you know, we're wiping out most of the things in Lustria. To Tlax. And I want to see where Harken's army... Ah, there it is. Okay, so it is a full stack by the looks of it. What is this? Hellbound Standard Weapon Strength and Melee Attack. That's going on a Skullcracker. Alright, so what I would like to see is Harken... Oh, wow, you can move far. Good lord. Okay, I was going to send Kigal Barak out of this place in order to move over there, but that's no longer the case. You know what? You, keep building Goblin Laborers. And because if Luther Harken decides to sail towards us, well, we're just going to have to deal with them there. There's a decent likelihood that he... Oh, the frickin' Tomb Scorpion. That's not great. Yeah, this army is going to have a tough time against these guys, but we're just going to have to deal. So, in that light, I think we will attack this, and we will do a quick manual fight because... I mean, I guess we could still watch the Skullcrackers and Magma Cannons do cinematic stuff. Alright, basically I just want to reduce the casualties to hopefully more or less nothing. So let's fight this real quick. Alrighty, here we go. For some reason I find the idea of a flying bull hovering in the trees very funny. I don't know why it is. It's just, I don't know, it just seems odd. But anyway, here we go. Should be a relatively small fight against the pile of undead, but obviously once again we can't have the unnecessary casualties right now, so we'll just take them out the old-fashioned way, which means burning most of them to, well, the death, I suppose. Oh! Those waterlogged zombies have 10 fire resistance. Good for them, I suppose. Will that be enough fire resistance to stave off a destruction at the head of the burning head? And looks like it will clip 3 units and then miss the 4th. Yeah, it'll just veer away from the 4th, but it basically destroys 3 units already. And frankly, I'm kind of shocked that the enemy does not decide to move towards us, perhaps because they would have to move under fire from the magma cannon, like so. But either way, the magma cannon has taken the time that the burning head was moving to itself move into range and is now free to fire upon whatever units aren't able to dodge its shots. There we go. I do love seeing the sort of zombies, or just really any unit, sort of silhouetted by the fire as they burn. It's pretty neat, and they make for some pretty neat shots, I gotta say. Anyway, we've got the zombie pirate deckhand mob in trouble. The hand cannon's still melting away from that burning head, and hopefully the trees don't block too many of those shots, but if they do, they do. The enemy still has a long way to go towards us, and frankly are not even trying to move at this point. And this should allow us to drop a few more spells here and there. A fireball. There's no explosion. Oh, that wasn't a fireball. This is a fireball. An overcast fireball at that. There we go. The explosion does happen to the fireball, whereas that first thing was the fire breath from the item. It is terrible. It does basically nothing every time. I really need some adjustment to not be so atrociously bad. I guess when the devs sort of adjusted a bunch of the purple items, they never bothered to adjust the special items that the Chaos Dwarfs get from their caravans, because a bunch of them are just frankly garbage. Which is a bit disappointing considering they're purple items and half of them should probably be green, to be honest. But anyway, frankly, actually, I think one of them, as I recall, gives perfect vigor and nothing else. And I swear there is a green item that does exactly that, so that's, that kind of paints a picture, don't it? Anyway, the range fire will continue, but I think we've seen the bombardment from our single magma cannon enough times at this point, so I'm just going to speed it along until the enemy is ready to move towards us. Maybe we'll annoy them with another spell, another fireball, another anything, really. Again, they're taking shockingly long to move towards us. Ooh, there's that fireball and the flame of ogres. I don't know. It's, the thing from the item. And see, did it even knock a single bat out of that blob? Come on. We tried it against the infantry. It doesn't do much. Maybe it's for single entities? Well, let me just see it. No, it says strong versus multiple units. It does not seem to be strong against multiple units, guys. I gotta say that. But anyway, the enemy is at long last annoyed towards us. Perhaps they will be happy to cross the water, but we won't be fighting them there by and large. Ooh, does look like a unit of bats does move towards us. However, the blunderbusses, with one volley from two blunderbusses, take away 90% of their HP, and the bats start melting away. We'll have Mr. Izdubar distract them for at least a couple of seconds before they all fall out of the sky. And now it's time to get to those Kadai Fireborn on field, partly to damage whatever units they can, and partly just to block them off. The more units are blocked by these guys, the less that are available to annoy the rest of our army. Speaking of, the enemy will move towards us with the Rotting Prometheans, and we will do our best to gun them down. The flash bomb comes in from the Infernal Castellan, slowing their speed down to a mere 11, and hopefully the staggering fire from the blunderbusses does its work. Alright, in the meantime, the Blazing Beards of Bajorak will let loose their naphtha bombs into the zombie pirate deckhand mobs with polearms there. And take about half of their HP as the Krabby Boys melt away as the naphtha bombs clear the rest of these units out, and by the looks of it, as the battle is ours. And the enemy melts, and I would imagine we got basically, if not no casualties out of this. And the Kadai are still doing their job. It's another nice thing about having the Kadai Fireborn summoning ability that we get to see the Kadai Fireborn in action long before we're able to actually construct them in decent numbers. And, wow, how's the zombie unit not melted away yet? Under fire from the blunderbusses and the naphtha bombs. I guess they're all just getting kind of punted around, and by virtue of that are not sort of standing together, so less models are taking damage at the same time. But it's all good. Alright, there we go. Quick little fight, no problem. Alright, there we go. Quick little fight with, unsurprisingly, 0 losses, and quite necessary in case Luther Harkin attacks this army next turn. We will, let's see, 22k damage and 139 kills the Magma Cannon. Not bad. Not quite as good as Mr. Izdubar, however, and a little bit of work out of the Blazing Beards, mostly chucking those naphtha bombs of theirs. As for the way that we occupy this particular place, in theory, Pox Marsh will be a factory. Because it has a port. I guess we could temporarily occupy this as outpost and switch it to factory later. Let's do that for now. Again, we need raw materials more than anything else. Free Pigeon Plucker Pendant. Do we get to keep the mine shaft? Yes, we do. Alright, so start collecting the labor. I'm gonna say quickly build a Hobgob muster camp. We will transfer labor here, though, yeah, labor is definitely starting to drop. Also, this is... what territory is this? This is Jungles of Green Mist? It is Jungle of Webs. Alright, so that's here. Alright, so we will take down you and you and you. Yeah, actually twice, so let's do that. To Jungle of Webs, like so. Then we will pop off the rush construction here, which will give us an additional few gob units in order to help defend the place should the enemy attack us. Considering the money situation, I think we're going to have to forego getting the Mega Mortar here. This guy would probably run if we were to attack him, and frankly, I'm happy with him stuck in that position, because then he can't attack Ashalodal. It works much better for us, in my opinion. The question is, where will Luther Harkin go with that massive movement range that he has? I guess we're just gonna have to find out. Nobody here leveled out of that, unfortunately, but that's not unexpected either, and average efficiency is at 95, why? Oh, the Jungle of Webs has a second level. Oh, mine shaft. Okay, I didn't realize that. Alrighty, well then, we can lose 2 more out of... wait. Actually, we'll need public order here, so we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then all into Jungle of Webs. Which is a lot, admittedly, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And Jungle of Webs will immediately pop off that set an example. To counteract the damage that we're taking, we will... we could, funnily enough, start upgrading this, but it's fine as it is. Alrighty, efficiency is now back to 100%, though I'm a little bit concerned about the labor, but we will have new convoys up and running shortly, so hopefully that'll be fine. Public order here is okay. Not so okay here and here, but that's just life. Alrighty, I think that's about it. Let's end the turn, unless... wait, who's Kagil Barak again? Oh, you're this guy, right. We got a new Centaur Torok next turn, so we can wait on that. I do believe... well, we could actually put a couple of Bull Centaur renders into this particular army if we wanted to. We could get the basic variants, the sword and board or axe and board variants, by sending one of these guys to them. And then that'll make this army a lot more viable just with the 2 additional units. Alright, fair enough. Skip, and end the turn, and let's see what happens with regards to Skulltaker and Harkin and the Mask. Isn't this too many wars at once? I guess we're about to find out. But if nothing else, it's keeping it interesting. And, aha, we have been discovered. And, oh, does he have Bloodletter summons? He does. 2 Bloodletter summons. That's actually quite concerning for this particular army, and especially for those poor Hobgob bolt throwers. But it is what it is. We'll get the Hobgob standard on the Oglacon's Wolf Boys, and I think the Razor standard on you. And hopefully we can deal. Go. Alrighty, here we go. Now the Overseer and the Demonsmith both have their Taurus mounts, which is great and should help at least to some degree against Mr. Skulltaker. This is his last hurrah, as I imagine we won't be seeing him again should we manage to defeat him here. Now, as usual, we will start the battle off by irritating the enemy's fast movers, i.e. their flesh hounds, with our units of surprisingly slow reloading. That did not feel like 6.2 seconds. Okay, I counted at least 15 Mississippis before before they fired off again. That did not seem like 6.2 seconds at all. I don't know what the deal here is, but oh well, maybe it's just because they're just at the edge of their range. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to speed this up while we annoy them, and they're... Okay, of course, the very second I speed it up, the enemy army decides to move towards us, and funnily enough, decide to summon the Bloodletters of Khorne on top of our fast movers. You're wondering why they did that? It's because thanks to Gordas' ability, now our entire army has a stock, and, well, at the very least, all the Gob units have stock, and thus the enemy didn't know what to attempt at summon on. Sucks for them, I suppose. Here come the Flesh Hounds rushing towards our sneaky gits, but the sneaky gits have their daggers ready, and the first unit of Flesh Hounds loses about 60% of their HP to the first volley, and the rest of their HP to the second. There is, however, plenty more Flesh Hounds where that came from. I'm going to block off some of the enemy units of Flesh Hounds and Bloodletters with a nice Gehenna's Golden Hounds. A little bit of irony there. The dog spell versus the dogs. But it does look like with the numbers, the enemy does have enough to actually get through. We're going to countercharge them real quick with Ogulkhans, the Wolf Boys. Actually wanted to prevent them from charging through our units, but it looks like they didn't. However, once again, there are so many of them that they do actually manage to get through, weave their way through our ranks, and intersperse themselves amongst the sort of fragile units in the back line. Fortunately, we do have numbers of our own, and by peeling away so far from the Bloodletter support, the dogs will probably get torn to shreds before the enemy mainliners join in. Speaking of joining in, it looks like Skulltaker himself has arrived, but as we've seen many a time, he is not good at mincing infantry, and if he wants to be distracted by a bunch of garbage, then that is, well, his problem. While Gorda's Backstabber, of course, begins quacking away at him as well. We do summon the Kadai Fireborn on field as well over in the enemy's back line in order to try to annoy the Bloodletters and Khorngors, but it looks like the enemy doesn't want to engage them and will actually run away and try to join the main battle. Kind of smart move by the AI, if slightly annoying that their own units are willing to, listen to such commands. Perhaps I spoke too soon about the Bloodletter support not being there? I guess that was the unit. Anyway, spoke too soon about the Bloodletter support and not being there with the doggos as a portal opens up in the middle of our forces, disgorging a unit of Bloodletters on top of the escapee skewers, hobgob bolt throwers. Fortunately, though, we do have other units to move in and hopefully distract the enemy long enough to keep those bolt throwers alive. In the meantime, Skulltaker is now down to about 20% of his HP, taking hits from both Gordas and the Overseer, RuinusInsight, and of course being surrounded this entire time by some cutthroats. Nope, sneaky gets. Alright, and it looks like Skulltaker is pretty much done with 10% of his HP remaining. Not many skulls to his name this time around. Well, actually 33, not so bad. Granted, they're garbage units, but nonetheless. Anyway, he drops off his Juggernaut, and with that falls, and with him I do expect his army is going to shatter soon. The dogs are now out of the picture. There is still a Blood Reaper in the fight, as well as a spawn of Khorne, but we have repositioned our range units to start firing upon it. Hopefully it's not... Yep, there it is. Yep, that's what I wanted to avoid. Gotta be careful about dishing out damage to those guys when they're in the midst of a blob of range, or melee units rather, or garbage infantry basically, because those explosions can dish out a lot of damage and get a lot of kills. And yeah, those sort of spin-to-win animations that the spawn do have a tendency to take them out of the range of the, range attacks as well. Or at the very least inadvertently force them to dodge them a bunch of times. Fortunately, they can't dodge forever, as with that the Chaos Spawn drops several of our units of Sneaky gets pretty severely damaged this time, although by the looks of it even the most severe damaged haven't lost too many models and should recover to about 50% HP post-battle, which is just lovely. All right, there we go. A nice fight with some fairly severe damage to a few of our sneaky gets units, and I think the money is actually worth more than the captives this time. However, we need to replenish the stock of laborers that we are now using to get all those raw materials, and therefore we have no choice but to take the labor. Would have been nice to heal too, but anyway, Skulltaker falls yet again. Sorry, Skulltaker. And let's see how we did. Oglacon's Wolf Boys, 13k damage on them, pretty solid. 15k damage on the Enthusiasts, beating out all but one of the units of Hobgoblin Sneaky Gets. I think this is the second time that the very last unit did the best. But it actually kind of makes sense that the left and rightmost unit and the order make the most sense for the first and the last, because they're the units that are on the flanks, and thus the most dangerous positions, likely to take a lot of damage, but also likely to dish out a lot of damage. Makes sense. Otherwise, we are pretty okay here. So we will transport captives. These guys are going to back off with what remains right beside their territory. Now, I wonder if we can reach them while they're out there, because I'm willing to bet that we can draw the garrison out. Also, I do wonder how much we'll heal here. Also, I do wonder where the mask is. What is this? This is garbage. Alrighty, I think we just auto-resolve this. This is a waste of time, and the reason for this isn't the fact that we have a pile of goblin laborers, it's the fact that we just summon the Blood and Fireborn on top of the giant pile of artillery, and they kill them all. So, yeah, just auto-resolve it. It's a waste of time. Take the... I guess money this time, though. Alright, and now that's what I'm talking about, a little bit more interesting. The Tomb Scorpion is going to be of great concern, and the fact that the enemy has a lot of carronades, which against our single magma cannon is also going to be a little bit iffy. The Blood and Fireborn are going to have to put in the work. Luther Harkin is at level 11, which isn't too crazy. And I am kind of wishing for that prototype Mega Mortar, but we're just going to have to live without it and see if we can pull it off, and also not get killed by the bloated corpses. Go! Alrighty, here we go. Luther Harkin has a pretty good shot at defeating us here, and, well, I'm going to be interested in seeing whether we can carry the day. One of the big problems is that the enemy has a ton of artillery, and, of course, the fact that they actually have a legendary lord in command at the same level as our own lord. Now, we do have a few extra garbage units from our garrison here, and well, some of them are down to 5 or 10% of their HP, but, well, we're just going to have to make use of them. They are still useful, as they still won't rout until they actually take some proper damage. Now, what we do have is this nice little, I don't know, valley, beginning of the valley here, with cliff sides around us, and thusly we're going to position our armies within that portion of the battle. Unfortunately, it will mean that this will be a rather dark battle, but, well, I suppose a dark battle against the vamps does seem to be appropriate anyway. And the first of our units are those garbage garrison units. We're going to use them to plug that gap and just leave them there. But we will not approach with the rest of our units as yet, because we don't want the enemy artillery firing upon them, and especially with the fact that the enemy artillery, I think, outranges ours. 390 versus 400. Oh, maybe they don't outrange us. Oh, actually, 468. Oh, it was a 390 on the mortars. Yeah, 468 on the carronades. I was surprised for a second, but yeah, we can't draw closer or the carronades will simply destroy our own artillery piece, and so we'll have our magma cannons fire upon the enemy lines, even as the enemy fires upon ours. The enemy is waiting for their reinforcements to arrive, but they'll be here in a few seconds. And as soon as they are, it looks like they will begin moving towards us, which, you know, fair enough. And since the enemy has started moving, it does mean that we can position the rest of our army as well. We've also taken a fair bit of damage to a bunch of our goblin laborers, as Harkin seems to have used his, I don't remember the name of the ability, but the Thartosa Grape Shot, or whatever, the Norse Roar, one of the sort of cannon abilities that the Vampire Cows get. Anyway, we try to close the distance with the Sorcerer Prophet of Fire just to get to that burning head off, and and get it off he does, doing severe damage to 3 units, but at the cost of taking severe damage himself and dropping just below half HP. Some scurvy dogs attempt to rush around the flanks of our garbage garrison units, but it looks like they get destroyed by naphtha bomb and whatever fire before they can achieve too much. Over in the back line, we have summoned our Kadai Fireborn on top of 1 or 2 of the enemy artillery pieces, looking to tear them to shreds before the Kadai get themselves destroyed by the zombie pirate boarding crew or whatever other units fire upon them. In the meantime, the enemy are approaching. Unfortunately, the garbage units that we have from the garrison do leave us the same sort of type of units as our goblin laborers, i.e. units that we are free to drop artillery, mage fire, and, well, just range fire, I guess, on without being concerned about their casualties. Once those units are spent, it's time to close the distance. The Blazing Beards of Bajarak will lead, firing off their naphtha bombs, or chucking their naphtha bombs, and then getting stuck in. Nice thing, I suppose, about the dark maps is that we can see those burning beards in all their glory. Regular Dowie, eat your hearts out. Alrighty, and it does look like that threatening unit that we were talking about, the Tomb Scorpion, has made it to the front lines and is burrowing around, so probably hopeless to try to destroy it with range fire. Unfortunately, our Sorcerer Prophet took even more damage as he's now down to 20% of his HP and frankly too low to enter the melee and recover. Which is a shame, but what can you do? We have also sent 4 units of our laborers around the enemy flanks to follow the Bull Centaur Torok, who is engaged with Luther Harkin now, and the 2 units of Skullcrackers, wherever they are. Okay, one of them has closed the distance with the enemy zombie pirate and boarding crew here, and the other one should be somewhere in this melee. But again, the problem with the sort of darker maps is that they're kind of hard to spot. Wherever it is, I'm sure it's doing Skullcracker things, as one does. Alright, and it looks like the enemy main line is buckling, and the Bull Centaur Torok has Luther Harkin on the ropes, with the Torok up to 75% of his HP, whereas Luther Harkin has shed 50% of his. The Kadai Fireborn have done a great job knocking out 111 units and doing 18k damage to the enemy artillery crews. Though similar to our own Kadai Fireborn, that Tomb Scorpion is not something that we can deal with and are thusly, or so far, ignoring it. The deck droppers have decided to drop down upon our goblin laborers, but with more units of laborers arriving to bolster our lines by taking more hits and engage more enemy units, we're looking pretty good. There are still a few units of handgunners firing away, but they're eating arrows from our, well, those limited units that are still able to fire, and the magma cannon, of course. Harkin is down to 25% of his HP, and our Torok is still at 50%. And it looks like the enemy has begun to melt away. There we go. Even the Tomb Scorpion is getting ready to shatter. Our warriors, our Chaos Dwarf warriors, and our laborers have engaged the last of the enemy range units, the last hope the enemy had of dishing out significant damage. Oh, there's the Skullcracker. It did some decent damage before having to withdraw as the enemy was focusing it down a fair bit. And speaking of focusing it down at long last, we can break that frickin' Tomb Scorpion. 46 kills, nearly 10,000 damage, but the disruptive sort of nature of the unit made it much more annoying than the damage that it dealt. And it's a great unit. Anyway, with that, the last of the zombies begin to melt away. Luther Harkin dead at the blade or horns of the Bull Centaur. Too bad the Bull Centaur doesn't have any glowing elements that would allow us to see it easier within the dark, but when silhouetted against the sort of lighter elements, maybe. Anyway, there we go. With that, a heroic victory for this army, and with the main stack of the Awakened destroyed, I should imagine we should be able to take the Awakening without too much trouble. Ooh, alright, definitely a tough fight, especially for the Skullcrackers, who did do plenty of damage, especially the second one with 26k, almost as much as the Magma Cannon, but also took an insane amount of damage by virtue of the, well, this just being a particularly bad faction matchup for them, and just way too many armor-piercing bullets coming at you, and the AI's penchant for focusing down single entities like this meant that it was always going to be iffy for the Skullcrackers to survive, but they did, at least for now. Looks like a decent... Oh, really? Both bloated corpses come back? Okay, that's a little bit annoying, but what can you do? We get 664 labor out of this, however, which is a very nice pickup. 20k damage on the Blazing Beard's Bergerac, very solid, and around 20k for the other Chaos Dwarf Warriors as well. Blunderbusses, unfortunately, couldn't quite do as much, but it was partially by virtue of our own deployment, as we wanted to take advantage of those cliffs and hill, but that meant that the direct fire units of ours couldn't quite do as much work. All good. We will transport the captives and take the labor. Also, great work out of our Bull Centaur Toruk in defeating the enemy, well, in defeating Luther Harkin one-on-one. Looks like Heshwatla has declared war on the Shark Tooth, so those ogres are going to be gone shortly, unfortunately. But what can you do? I do imagine Heshwatla is also now disliking the Jade Court because of the Jade Court's alliance to us. Got to keep an eye on them and hope that they don't cancel the alliance. Alrighty, what do we have here? Lose raw materials? No. We'll invest in quote-unquote safety equipment. An exceptionally stupid goblin laborer, likely discontented with his meager lot in life, has slipped and fallen into the machinery upon which he was working. This has temporarily slowed down production while his entrails are unwound and the mess is cleared away by his peers. Such a thing threatens to halt production entirely. What steps will you take? Invest in safety equipment. By limiting the movements of our laborers, we should be able to stop this sort of thing from happening in the future. Makes sense, just hobble them, but anyway. Yes, we will have to give up some of the raw materials, but fortunately our raw material influx has increased quite a bit. Enemy killed in battle, enemy killed in battle, enemy killed in battle, potion of toughness, avenge the skullless, and the melee attack +2 will be quite nice for this army as well, which, I can't quite reach this, giving them the time to recover, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We'll go into an camp stance and we'll move forward as best we can. It's probably pointless to attempt an ambush. I mean, we could. Oh. A moment. If you go into an oh wow, okay, no, that's not gonna work. I was gonna say, put one of them into an camp stance, so we're also defeating Luther Harkin, great. Channeling staff, wait, is that our first or second channeling staff? Because if it's our second, no, it's our first, damn. I mean, not damn, don't give us more channeling staffs. I was just gonna, you know, combine it into something. Pigeon Plucker Pendants will actually be probably useful to us in this particular campaign, so we'll keep those. I do like that Talisman of Preservation as well. Also, how's our convoy doing? Wait a minute, Tusk Sun's destroyed, Bone Rattler's WoW fails, Technology Research, there's that extra Bull Centaur Toruk, and let's actually just double check on what we've got here, Toruk-wise. Temperamental. Makes you fightier in melee, sometimes considerably so. Stubborn gives you immunity to psychology and makes you a little bit more defensive, and Bully is decent as well due to the hit points. Frankly, they're all nice, but I'm still inclined to say that the confrontational one is a little bit better. I mean, +5 isn't anything crazy. Flanking, immune, expert charge, defense, and charge reflection are all fairly nice, though. But admittedly, they're all fairly tanky. I'll think about it. I might just forego waiting and just grab one of these. It depends on how many of these we'll want to grab and put into the Gob army, however. I did want at least a couple to be able to take on single-entity fighters and all that. We won't suffer attrition here, so we could risk not healing and try to ambush this little army. It might not work, but you never know. We have to go forward anyway. Alright, so fine. Let's go here. And let's go here. I expect the ambush will unfortunately be foiled due to the... and due to the presence of this hero Zaz here. Nonetheless, give it a try. Wait. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You can't move forward? Really, dude? There you go. Alrighty, and I hope that you're still in range of everybody else, because that was already quite annoying. Also, I don't see the mask as yet, but she will show up, and it'll be concerning. It'll be concerning for everybody. Alrighty, anyway, let's see what we've got here. So, Luther Harkin, in having landed here, means Pox Marsh is now safe. I don't know exactly where you're going. You failed your attack on a Shalodal, but you could raise and attack it again, but I'm once again not going to invest in. You know what, let's grab a quick Hobgob mustering camp. You will proceed to knock out Sammy Fenn here. Actually, wait. What's our level on our Demon Smith Sorcerer? Nowhere near. We desperately need that Reforge. Yeah, okay. Auto-resolve this. It's decently likely to severely damage our already damaged units of Skullcrackers. Let's hope not incredibly severely. And let's see what it does. Okay, nothing crazy, good. And we can take the healing. Oh, that healing was good. That healing was very good. Surprisingly good. Huh. Alright, well, you can't reach Pox Marsh, unfortunately, so we're gonna have to move forward. Which means you, sir. Dragon Helm, you're gonna grab these guys. And you're going to full speed stance on down. I am oh wow, this guy can travel far. Oh, they could attack you together, can't they? Oh, I don't like that. Like that at all. Might be better to play it safe and not go around that way, but this guy can travel so far that... Damn it. I wish I could see how far. Alright, let's go this way then. We need to set sail anyway. And at least we should be able to return to the Sunken Isle of the Gods as needed. Actually, you, in the meantime, will go to Ganaina to try to pick up that trait. And where is Hellbeard? 5 more turns. Alrighty. He's been wounded for a while now. And then you, sir. I guess you're fine as you are. I was wondering whether we should build you some gobs, but we're already fairly negative in terms of our public order. Next up, we'll go envoys to the Enclave. Don't really care about Conclave, rather. We don't really care about the relationship with Chaos Dwarfs so much, but we do care about the allegiance points increase. So we'll do that. Then we will go to the Tower of Jar, and I notice these guys have still not picked this up, but we will pick up Trafficker in giving us +1 number of active convoys. Fantastic. Now, you're nearly done convoying, and you've nearly arrived is what I'm getting at, while you need to now move. Alright, and we will dispatch you to... We haven't been to Black Crag yet. We could trade gold for raw materials, but it's very little raw materials, so it's not great. Frankly... Let's see, we've been to Grungazinton Castle Drakenhof. We have not been to the Crystal Spires, and this is money for labor, which is a decent option. Let's do Crystal Spires. Alrighty, let's do you. Like so. It's a little bit closer, so we won't have to wait as long for the influx dispatch. And then next turn, this one will be finished, and we'll have 2 turns, in which case it will be returning, so we'll send them then to Black Crag with a minimal cargo, and just to level them up, as well as to get whatever item we get out of Black Crag, since we passed through it to go to the Wizard Caliph's Palace. I think. I'm 90% sure we haven't been to Black Crag. I hope I'm not wrong on this, but we shall see if I am. Alrighty. Building-wise and labor-wise, let's take a look at what we've got here. Labor is not looking too bad, though our public order is not amazing, especially here in Mosquito Swamps. Wait, again, which one's Mosquito Swamps? Oh, it's this one. Yeah, we should probably counteract that to some degree. Alright, fine. We'll transfer 2 to Mosquito Swamps. This is Amazonia, which we admittedly don't care as much about. Jungles of Green Mist is already getting the public order. Alright, so let's transfer out and... Actually, no, you 2 will be losing the most, therefore we should transfer 2 out of here into Mosquito Swamps. Like so, and then pop off the set an example of Mosquito Swamps. Good. Our raw materials are fairly minimal, but nonetheless I would like to take a look at what we've got in terms of building. You're in billowing smokestacks, so you're fine as you are. You are in billowing smokestacks and still -8. Ouchies. But in life. You're good as you are as well. Will we still require that Hobgoblin Bivouac? See, I think we will. But I do think we will want to upgrade this mine shaft for more raw material influx. Ganina is fine as it is. Frankly, the Fane Guard probably isn't doing too much for us here anymore, so I think we're free to probably get rid of it and replace it with something. We could also grab the Tribute Collectors. They're reasonably cheap, and oh, we could reduce this with the Masterful Architects and grab it next turn instead. So we'll do that. Chakwa, we will keep the defensive structures out for now. Talash, you're in the same situation where we will eventually want to get rid of the Hobgob bivouacs, but we don't want to, you know, rock the boat, as it were, at least not right now. Shalanwapek, you could grab the... Oh, no, you can't grab the iron. Since we're not doing the prototype Mega Mortar here, we could grab one of these, or we could start getting a little bit of cash for nothing, basically, just a slot. I think that's fine. Go for the donation barrel. Alrighty. Minus a little bit of cost, but it's not so expensive that we need to be concerned about. Diplomacy check. Beastmaster want to be friends, but they offer us nothing. And nobody wants to be friends otherwise. Alrighty. More importantly, perhaps, let's take a quick look at the Jade Court Cape, moving up to 38. It's just decent. You know what, I'm just gonna payment offer payment, give them a 1,500. Okay, let's wait on that. I was gonna say give them a small gift. Ooh, you do have a mission for us though. Ally mission, take out Stig Thane Frost for 13, or the other guy. Doesn't really matter. Pick one, take him out. Skullcracker gone anyway. Skulltaker rather. Skullcrackers were almost gone. Anyway, you sir. You will want to grab, I think... Transmutation of lead is quite nice, if extremely expensive. I'm gonna say transmutation of lead. You will want to keep going through Stickum. We'll get you your personal buffs eventually, but for now let's keep buffing every single hobgob in the army. And then you two keep getting casting abilities. Burning Head and Kindle Flame, and then you will go for Kindle Flame and nothing. Alright, you two are good, the buildings are good, the Diplo is good, meaning I believe that's an end turn as we proceed to march upon Wallatal. And these places. Can we take the Awakening? It would be iffy. Tremendously iffy. With this army we probably could. Alright, you know what? Start moving this... what's the likelihood? Wait. You cannot catch us this way. Alright, so start moving this way. We'll need you for the attack on the Awakening to, you know, send a million goblins at them. It's a tried and true strategy once again. Now, let's see whether these guys will react to this in any way. I expect that they will attempt to sue for peace, since they have failed with their main assault. And... really? Okay. I wasn't expecting that. I think I was expecting the least, but sure. Alrighty, here we go, and lovely to see that unlike the previous dark battle, this little fight is going to be on a much brighter map, as I would like to see a little bit more of those vampire coasties before they get destroyed. And besides, they, well, while it might have been nice to... I'm just wondering whether there were any units of theirs that would have worked nicely with ours, but as similar to what we're doing with these sort of order factions, the likelihood of getting them would preclude getting A, order factions, and B, chaos factions, so we basically have to make a choice, and to make a choice we did at the very start. Anyway, we move our Sorcerer Prophet in and drop a quick little Burning Head upon the enemy. It does allow us to cripple one of the units of Carronades, which begin to crumble away, but the unit of Mortars, by the looks of it, was saved by an invocation of Nahek. I always love to see a little bit of spell work and counter spell work when it works out, especially from the AI. And it looks like the reinforcements have arrived, which means we will soon begin firing upon them with our magma cannons and maybe dropping a few spells on them as well. There we go. And I can't even really see the enemy army from this angle, but it looks like the rangefinder on this on these magma cannons is working just fine. Oh. There you go. Alrighty, and well, the enemy is still using the cover of the trees to decent effect here. Now, oh right, this annoyance. So our Sorcerer Prophet tries to move towards the enemy, but he gets staggered by the fire from the pistols. And I suppose the woods are quite annoying as well, and thusly starts taking damage. There we go. That's the stagger animation that I was talking about. Surprising how often that animation happens, because you can't move when that animation is happening, and this guy's kind of stuck in it, which is not so great. Well, hopefully he can get away rather than dying in a pretty pathetic death like that. Ooh, he's below half HP now, and in desperation, he's gonna pop off a burning head onto that one unit of zombie pirate boarding crew just to free himself from the stagger lock. These guys don't have any kind of contact effect on them, do they? They do not. It was just, it was just straight up staggering. Interesting, if nothing else. Anyway. That was damage I would have liked to avoid. As Isnavar tries to make it back towards our main line, he gets hit with a Spirit Leech as well. It is not his day. On the bright side, we managed to destroy one of the enemy bloated corpses, and are quickly moving towards the second one to try to prevent it from destroying any of our units. Fortunately, the Torok meets it and explodes it with a couple of strikes with his axe. And they just disappeared instead of exploding. I'm sure it exploded, and I think we might have been too close to actually see the explosion activate. Anyway, the biggest blob of enemies will now suffer as we drop a Kadai unit upon the boarding crew. That said, a handgun unit led by a gunnery wight will be close enough to fire off a few volleys of theirs, but now that means it's time for our blunderbusses and our blazing beards to move forward, while magma cannon fire continues to sail overhead and into whatever other units we can reach. There we go, the blunderbusses fire away, knocking back all of those zombie pirate gunnery mobs and disrupting their ability to fire, kind of similar to what we were doing with the, what we were taking with our Sorcerer Prophet. The enemy sends a few bombs flying from, I assume, the gunnery wight towards our laborers, but obviously that doesn't matter over much. A little bit more pistol fire coming in from the enemy admiral. But it's not going to do all that much, and eventually the admiral will be destroyed in a hail of blunderbuss fire. And by the looks of it, the bounce power has shifted to about 70% in our favor, but I think that's deceptive because I think this is going much worse for the AI than the balance of power seems to indicate. The gunnery wight meets the same fate as the admiral. There is still the fleet admiral with polearm. Oh, that's why he was doing so well against the bull centaur. I was wondering. I guess the anti-large was really helping out. But, well, the anti-large or the polearm without pistol fire means you have no recourse against the range units, which will now try to focus you down as best as they can. But actually, it looks like you're going to run towards this pile of laborers? Weird. Oh well. And who gets stopped in his tracks just as the Skulltaker moves in and takes severe damage to it before at last being executed by the Bull Centaur Torok. Lovely, and only one unit remains on field, a gunnery wight who is now surrounded by a pile of laborers. Maybe I could have sent that pile of laborers towards the gunnery wight earlier, but no good. At range, I don't expect this thing to do too much damage anyway, and there we go. With that, it crumbles away, and the battle is ours. Minus one little bit of boarding crew, which, oh. We're still primarily fighting laborers. Alright, fair enough. Alrighty, there we go, and the Skulltaker, or Skullcracker rather, finishes them off. Alrighty, there we go. On the one hand, I am pleasantly surprised by the fact that they attacked us. On the other hand, I am unpleasantly whatever the opposite of surprised is by the fact that basically every single one of their units came back after that attack, and some of them will probably have more HP than they started with, which is a bit of an annoyance, but what can you do? What we do get, however, is a decent little bit of labor and money and such out of it, and XP. The one thing I'm being reminded of from the, well, since the last time I played Chaos Dwarfs is how much, I don't know, kind of how iffy great Tauruses are as mounts, and why Lamassu are better. It's not just the fact that they, well, the effects and all that, but the problem with the Taurus is that it gets staggered like nobody's business by anything. This guy started out with basically full HP, and one unit of, I want to say it was boarding crew, or one of the, or maybe even, I don't know, one of the gun-toting, pistol-toting, whatever, units, basically locked him down with just staggering him repeatedly, over and over again, not allowing the Great Taurus to move, which is quite annoying, considering you have, technically speaking, all that mobility, but does any of it count if a couple of bullets will stagger you and then force you into that little animation where the Taurus just sort of hovers in place? Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch out for that. Might even take you off the mount, or obviously just switch it to Lamassu. But anyway, we could heal up, but I think I'd rather have the labor, as it's not a lot of healing and we're not all that damaged, to be perfectly honest. So yes, take the labor. Actually, we're getting a decent amount of labor. You know what? Take the money. The money was worth more than the labor that time anyway. In terms of, you know, you look at it regarding sell-off and stuff like that. Anyway, it looks like the ambush... what the heck? Itza, you're losing all your territory. Why do you have an army out here? Oh, it's being chased down by Arcan. Oh, I don't like that. Well, I don't like that one bit. Because if they choose now to declare war upon us, they could go after this factory, which would be tremendously unfortunate. Unzelid, seat has been usurped. Which seat was that, I wonder? Don't tell me it's the... No, it's not this one. Which one got usurped? Ah, you stole our armament seat. So rather than completing this, a free seat, you'd rather pay more just to irritate us. Of course. Alrighty, well, we'll get it back. Anyway, this is annoying because Sunken Isle of Gods is basically undefended, but there's probably not much we could do about that anyway. Anyway, you are going to Ganaina and try to pick up that trait if you would. Go. Can take you a minute. There you go, buddy. Alrighty, and then you just sit there for a couple of turns, or however many turns it takes. Convoy completed, influx of cash, and a Cambrian War Sphinx. Eternal Servitude, campaign movement range for armies. Well, isn't that lovely? Since this is technically our main stack, I'm probably going to say put that thing on our unit. Eternal Servitude, like so, and War Banner. Funnily enough, would also be good on Unglacon's Wolf Boys, but anyway. Let's see about who we put that on. A Granite Guard is probably going to be the best option for that. Anyway, that convoy has completed its run, so we will get a new convoy up and running. We have Covert, which gives us Fire Glaives, and not a lot of units, versus Monster Commander, giving us a Lamassu and a Great Taurus. I gotta go with Covert. It's one less unit, but I do like those Fire Glaives. And the character experience gain plus 250 is also going to allow you to level up quicker, which is also nice. Alrighty, so let us first level you. You are obviously going to go for Inspiring Presence. You will want to get Hidden Stores. In fact, you probably want to max this out. And then we'll go for 1 point in all of these. Like that. Then, Did I? Okay, yes. Add Master. And I believe I said I was going to send you to Black Crag, but not to actually spend the money, just to do this. Like, so just so that you will have visited it. Yes. Alrighty. And away you go, buddy. You're at least giving us, or gonna get us some labor, although admittedly not that much. Less than I thought, but I guess we're not, it's not a very long trip to the Crystal Spires compared to wherever it was we were at before. Anyway. You are... I wonder if the AI did that on purpose. It seems to have crossed to the other side of Wallatal so that we couldn't attack it. Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Good for them, though. Funnily enough... I wonder if we could besiege it and then cross over to the other side, but there may not be a need in the sense that we could just besiege the place. And they'll attack us next turn either way, because they have the better army, and we have garbage. But the garbage has won before, and I'm willing to bet the garbage will win again. So we'll pop you in here. Maybe we don't have a stance that we could take while attacking. I feel like the Chaos Dwarf should have some kind of siege stance. If anybody has a siege stance, it's probably these guys, right? Anyway, you can go into encamp to get the bonus stats. You can go into encamp to get the bonus stats. And I presume that if this guy should sally out, both of you will reinforce. Good. How are you doing? 31? It's looking pretty okay. Next up, we do a lord check. Any new overseers? Nope, still irate and bilious. The public order here is horrendous, however, and thusly we are going to need to counteract that with set an example. And in fact, it's still going to be horrendous. Might even want to take out the hobgoblin bivouacs and replace them with a public order building. But while we have the freaking Slaneshi corruption, there isn't too much we could do about that. -7 here in Jungles of Green Mist, which is where we just were. -3, -10. This is okay, though. -13 in Amazonia. We'll keep an eye on that one, though. You probably no longer need the Hobgob bivouacs, though. And I'm just going to assume that you're going to keep getting chased down. Could you land here right beside the place and allow us to take the place? That would be ideal. Wait, if you can go right here to Poxmarsh, is Dubar. Like so. And close victory? Okay, that's a... What? Really? Okay. Game. How dare you. Alright, you go here. Let's see if you can reinforce. I just gotta... I really want to get this little army out of the sea. Quite desperately. And it can land, and it can reinforce, and now decisive victory, low casualties, but because of the attrition suffering, I think I'll just maybe do this between the episodes to reduce the casualties. Otherwise I have concerns. You, sir, we could move you to Ashalodal to try to defend against these guys, or we could actually invest in it now, though again, if Arcan the Black chooses to attack it, there's not going to be too much that we can do about it. Huh. Corruption is dropping. That's quite interesting, because of who? Oh, this is the wrong place. I was thinking of the Mine of the Bearded Skulls. Alright, we're on the way. We're on the way to liberate our cousins. But it'll take a little bit. Anyway. Yeah, I think with that, since I will do this between the episode, this is probably going to be the best place to call it, because we'll have to end the turn in order to get to the last fight against Khorne out here. So, we will call it here. Next episode, we end the turn, Khorne attacks us, we presumably, if victorious, destroy them. Then we have to backtrack towards the Blood Hall and take it away from the Slaneshi before starting the war against them in proper. They are about as strong as us, which is very iffy for us, especially for this particular army. And much as I'd like to get more armies down here, we'll need to actually invest in a little bit of increase to our income and possibly also armaments. Especially now that our armament seat has been usurped in order to counteract all that. But we're working on it, especially with our interior provinces becoming safer and safer. Over the next few turns, we will be able to delete some of the sort of defensive structures and replace them with more economy structures, which is a good thing to see. Also, in fact, let's switch you to Masterful Architect specifically for that particular purpose. And I think Tarantula is probably safe now, meaning we will be able to get rid of these and replace it with, other stuff. Oh, and frankly, we'll eventually have to... Oh, I was about to say switch you to factory, but you are a factory, which is good. We can put in the timber and other things. Yes. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to call it here. Next time, more stuff. Keep on fighting in Illustrious, sending convoys, and doing Chaos Dwarf things. So stay tuned for more Hellbeard. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.